Just talking about the current state of lubrication from the business perspective, I think today more companies have a greater understanding and awareness of the importance of lubrication. It wasn't like that always. Lubrication was typically an afterthought, a necessary evil. I think the global competitive marketplace today is different than it was even 10 or 20 years ago, where companies are looking for ways to cut costs in their business, looking at lubrication as a opportunity for them to be more profitable by maintaining the equipment, greater life expectancy, greater uptime and availability of equipment. They see lubrication as a key foundational piece to that. There has been a paradigm shift when it comes to that. One of the challenges still today is trying to do more with less. I think every company, regardless of what industry you're in, everyone's trying to do more with less. How do you choose wisely? What do you focus your time on? How to identify what adds value to their program? Examples of that is over greasing a piece of equipment. There's no value in that. Not acting on your oil analysis sample reports. There's no value in that. There's value when you do act. There's value in the precision, the lubrication aspect of it.
There's a huge opportunity to us as the industrial lubrication professionals to provide this knowledge and understanding that the lubrication is really key part of maintenance. What we see as the lubrication service supplier, that sometimes tiny things that are related to lubrication activity impact a huge number of failures, also safety issues, environmental issues. So I believe we live in a golden era of lubrication because there are so nice modern tools like sensors, AI analysis tools that we can use. However, what I feel which prevents to lubrication excellence, there is no one owner of the process who hold the responsibility for the lubrication. It's more recognized as on-demand service, but not something strategically planned and executed.
Still, even though there's focus put on lubrication, resource constraint, most of the places, it's actually a plant I was at earlier this week, when he asked the guys, do you have enough bodies currently to do the job? There's just not enough bodies to do the work. So you kind of get stuck in that constant firefighting mode, and you're not able to actually proactively move forward to build out lubrication program or make improvements. COVID decimated the workforce to a certain degree. There's a gap behind there. A lot of lubricant providers, they're moving towards trying to add value add services. When you're shopping for lubricants, you're not just shopping for the price per quart or price per gallon. What other services do they offer? Oil analysis services or data interpretation, or just there's a whole bunch of stuff there that the oil companies are trying to offer. Some of that stuff, like the external resources that are available, I think a lot of times the companies don't take full advantage of them. A lot of it may be lack of awareness that they're even available.
You bring up a great point on that. And I've run into this personally a lot of times when you specifically talk about purchasing lubricants, right? A lot of time those purchasing contracts, they stay with the purchasing manager. And there's an appendix in that contract that talks about these services that the company that they offer. And the reliability group needs to understand what those services are, but they never get to see the contract. They're using one of the majors or one of the large corporations as their lubricant supplier. Then I ask them, hey, do you get any engineering services or anything like that from your suppliers? Oh, no, we don't get anything. And I said, well, have you seen the contract? And they're like, no. And so during the training class, I'm like, go talk to your purchasing manager, get a copy of the contract and see what is actually there. And then they come back and they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that this is part of our contract. And these are things that we're supposed to be getting. And a lot of times it's just that information stays siloed in a different group, and the folks that need it don't get to actually see it. And I'd like to tie it back to the current state. When we started 20 years ago, how many plants did we go into that 70, 80% of the equipment that they had in their plant, they had the wrong oil and the wrong grease in it? And where I see the changes now when I go into facilities, I mean, there's still applications where the incorrect lubricant is being used, but it's not as drastic as what it was before. I think a lot of that is because of the information that is available now than 20, 25 years ago. The other thing too is I think organizations today are now understanding the value of treating lubricants as assets. In the past, it was a necessary evil. Oil is oil, grease is grease. Folks just viewed lubricants as a consumable. But the top three rotated equipment failures are misalignment and imbalance, improper installation procedures, and then lubrication related issues, wrong type, incorrect contamination, whatever the course may be. What I have seen is organizations that are treating their lubricants more as an asset, making sure that they're selecting the correct lubricant, it's at the right cleanliness levels, that they're getting the longer service life out of those lubricants. And then in return, they get better equipment efficiency, they're reducing their maintenance costs, and their overall plant reliability is going up. The folks that are doing it and doing it well, they're treating those lubricants as assets.
I've always looked at it as your lube room where you store, handle, and dispense your lubricants should really be a showroom. It should be treated as a critical asset, as you said, Paul. A lot of people do a lot of PM work on equipment or throughout the plant, but they don't PM their lube room. They don't make sure that it is in that showroom condition, so that when people are there to go deploy lubricants to the point of lubrication, they're in the condition that they should be in. They're in the right transfer containers. They have the right product. They're applying it in the correct location. All of those things that are just tenets to any holistic lubrication program. So little things like that, paying attention to that and not overlooking the value, it pays huge dividends.
I just had this conversation the other day about oil analysis, the four main predictive maintenance technologies: vibration, oil analysis, thermography, and ultrasonics. And I asked them, I said, well, which oil samples do you pay attention to? And they're like, well, we only pay attention to the ones that are in caution or critical. And I said, so you're taking a reactive approach to a predictive technology. That doesn't add up. What we really should be focusing in on the normal samples, right? And risk ranking the normal samples from an asset management standpoint. So as we start to see the trends and the numbers going in the wrong direction, even though they're still in a normal state, we can proactively take action and then therefore head off issues before they become issues. It's that whole ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure type deal.